Hey guys, welcome on back to the Anchorage, and we are going to be looking at Pi apps today on PiQuest. All right, welcome on back. So here we go. We are going to be discussing more about the Raspberry Pi today, and namely CJ, Raspberry Pi 5 that was donated to the channel by Mythos. And we're going to actually take a look at it, and I'll show it to you. So why don't we go ahead and we'll take a quick peek. All right, so here we are. We have an Elecro mini PC case, quote unquote, that contains a Raspberry Pi 5. And we can see it from a big heatsink and that fan right in the center over that way. It's about the size of a credit card, and it fits in there. There's an add-on board, which is the upper section and to the right of sorts. That is for the sake of an NVMe add-on drive, SSD, and also it has connections for power and HDMI. So it's kind of like a little mini PC case. Now the Raspberry Pi 5, the HDMI, there's two ports, and they're the smaller, the micro, if you want to call it micro, those ports, stuff like that. But the add-on board for this case actually converts that back up to your ordinary size HDMI port. So that's a nice little bonus out of that. And then down at the bottom, you can see the green piece of tape there next to the channel badge. That green piece of tape there is just to cover up the hole going to the general input and output port, because I don't need them. But it does use the general input and output for the sake of the OLED display, which is on top of the case, and also provides power to the case fans. And there's also some other information. There's another little cable off to the far left of those pins that, you know, it's routed underneath and goes up to the add-on board right there. You can see that blue and the white there in the center. That's an extra cable for data input and output or power or something. I don't know what exactly, but it's there and it operates. So, and you know, this whole, now I purchased the case. Mythos purchased the actual Raspberry Pi and sent that to me and said, hey, this is for your channel so you can make videos. All right, that's what I'm doing. So that's what I've got there. And to the left of the case, you can see a black and gray cable. That's the power. And then you can see another bunch of cables. And it is sitting on top of a drive enclosure that I'm using for a Western Digital spinning rust hard drive. You know, it's a 2.5 inch. And I'm using it for cold storage. So when I take my backup solution image of the solid state drive, the NVMe drive, I'm saving that image onto that drive. And that's all that serves. So, nice little thing here. Nice. I like it. I enjoy it. The Elecro case itself, it's very good. With one caveat, the screws are too small. You know, I can work with them, but, you know, it's like the heads strip too easily. And that's not my fault. It's just, they're just too small for, you know, light to medium pressure. You really have to push in hard to, you know, to maintain the contact with the screwdriver. But, and then of course those case fans, you can see them. There's two there to the left. And I've got black rubber on the center, the circles in the center. Those are there to block the LED light, because it is mega bright and it would just shine right through and blind me. So I put those there to kind of block that out of the way and keep the light in the actual surrounding plastic. And of course it's unicorn vomit. But at the same time, I'm a Transformers fan from the early 80s, early to mid 80s Transformers cartoon, and they had these things called Energon cubes, and they were unicorn vomit. And so I'm pretending that this is being run off of Energon, or that it converts electricity into Energon. Whatever. But anyways, so this is what CJ is. Raspberry Pi 5, 8 gigabyte, more than any machine I need. And yeah, I like this thing. This thing's really nice. So there is CJ. So that's what CJ looks like and everything that's inside of it. It's very nice. It runs all the time. And my purpose for getting it was essentially why, partly why Mythos actually donated it to me, and that would be for using to make videos for my channel. And so I took that, and I'm kind of not flipping the switch or flipping the script or anything like that, but what I decided to do was I'm not only going to use it for this channel for the sake of just making videos, but actual production work of sorts. So I am doing work for both this channel, and I'm also doing different work for another channel, Switch to Linux, that I am a staff member for. And so what I needed to find out, what could I use, how could I use CJ in order to achieve that goal? And right off the bat was like, why don't I self-host something like Nextcloud or something like that? And I gave Nextcloud a try, and for me and for how I need to have it, it's beyond the scope of the project, let's say. That's just how I'm gonna have to describe it. From that point, what I have to do is scale back a little bit, step back here, and try to decide, well, how can I break this down something, not entirely, gigantic level kind of production work, but, simple stuff that I can, not so much host on it, but, what kind of utilities can I use with it and actually have it be productive? And the first thing that popped right into my head right away was a file server. So I'm like, okay, so why don't I keep all of my channel assets, pictures, graphics work, all that stuff, and my associated files for the channel and for Switch to Linux in a folder structure on CJ. So I'm like, all right, cool, excellent, I can do that. I've got it linked into Solaria, my Linux box. I'm connected via to a server, to look at a directory. And I'm like, but for the sake of streamlining the process, why not do a file sync? In other words, why don't I have all my files out there, and then why don't I sync those files onto CJ, or from CJ onto Solaria below me here? And I'm like, all right, so I can try to find a file sync software. So there's different file syncs out there using RunTP, which I just did that previous video on, and stuff like that. And I give those a try, and I'm like, I can't really get them set up though, in an easy fashion. You have to muck around with some settings and stuff like that. And I'm like, I don't want to go digging into settings all too deep. So, I need to find another solution. And I took a look at Portainer, which is all the same ones are out there available out on for Portainer. So it's if one and the other, and so on and so forth. And I'm like, yeah, but there's got to be something that is actually even easier than that. So I circled around, came back up and said, what is there available for Raspberry Pi in general that is sourced not necessarily from Raspberry Pi, from at least their contributors? Why don't we look at that? So I went out and I looked, and I'm like, oh yeah, I remembered. There's this thing called Pi Apps. I wonder what that's all about. So we're going to go take a look at that. All right, so if we were to come out to pi-apps.io, we will be brought here to the Pi Apps page, essentially. I just went out onto Firefox and went to pi-apps.io, and this is the Pi Apps webpage right here. So it is the most popular app store for Raspberry Pi computers. To my knowledge, the only one, but yeah, I could be wrong. 100% open source bash scripts. So these are all bash scripts, including the GUI is a bash script. Okay, go ahead and install it. This is where you can go where you can install it on your Raspberry Pi. Don't install it on your desktop computer. Do it in the Raspberry because that's where it's meant for. So you can view app details. You get this narrower column here, and then when you click on something here, it opens up this details box to the right of it. So you can view app details. You can view install and uninstall progress. You get update notifications, so it notifies you when your installed apps have available updates. It's lightweight, customizable. You can kind of change things around a little bit, and you can get involved. You can go out there, and of course, you bot Discord. Why would everybody on Discord? These people should be on Matrix. Hello, but in either sense. So we got that there. So once you get this installed, it's fairly simple to work with. So why don't we go take a look at that on CJ's desktop? Okay, I am in here on CJ itself. This is CJ's actual desktop. I'm using some VNC, virtual network computing, whatever connection, so I can see what's going on. I don't need this. Well, when I use it over on Solaria, I don't have to worry about it so much because it's actually a lot more accurate than this one here. I just need to find something for the Windows environment that would work. And this one works. And so that's why it might look like it's slightly off center a little bit as far as that middle part goes. It's just the viewability of it and such. So, so I've got my background here. It says CJ in the upper right, and up in the upper left, you're going to see this here, and it's called Pi Apps. So that's basically it. Now that is actually the bash script, but down in the lower left corner we got our start button. So you click on that, and then if you come up here to let's see, not internet, system tools, accessories. Here you go. It's in accessories. So we've got it here, and this is after it's been installed. Now there was a time when, and I can't say for certain, I might be wrong, but I think I had installed Raspberry Pi OS at one point on one of my Raspberries, and it was already there. It was actually included natively. Whether or not you get the option to choose that when you're imaging it, for installation, then I can't remember, so don't quote me on it. But in either case, you go out to pi-apps.io, and you can actually go and install it from there. And you want to install it from inside a Raspberry Pi desktop, just like this. So you'd go out to Chromium, go to there, and do the install from there. So here's Pi Apps on this list. So if I click on that, it appears here. So here it is. And this is basically the left side of it. And it says control your Android phone with the all-new Android Buddy app. Well, if you wish to do that, then go right ahead. I'm not going to bother with that. I would actually do it on the actual unit. So if there's any updates, you can click on that, and then, well, what do you know? There's updates available. Uncheck an item to skip updating it. So GitHub, System Monitoring Center, Waydroid, inactive updates. Well, I'm not going to worry about that so much. But to get out of it, you can just X out of it, the upper right-hand corner, and there it goes. So, and then you've got your listing of all apps. And all apps is everything down below. Yeah, I didn't want to do that. Get out of there. So all apps will basically list every single app. You can scroll through it, and there it goes. Everything. Now, these are all broken down by their categories: appearance, creative arts, engineering, games, installed, internet, and so on. So all you'd have to do is go down and say, well, let's just go to appearance. We'll go to appearance. And you get a number of them there. You pick that. And let's say I want to pick U Launcher down towards the bottom. I click on that, and over on the right, It says all-in-one application launcher, Google search engine, calculator, file manager. This is the best app launcher I've ever seen, though it can be a bit slow when searching. BotSpot. BotSpot is the guy that actually maintains Pi apps in general. And to run it, your menu, accessories, uLauncher. Or to run from a terminal, just type uLauncher. That's after it's been installed, just so you know. Now, I had gone out and I wanted to see what do I have. So I went to Tools and I scrolled down. Where are you? SSS is none of that one, apparently. Trying to remember where I found it. System management. There it is. Sync thing. Right there. So that is what I use for my file sync between CJ and Celeria. I also use it for a file sync between CJ and the Windows machine, Odin. So that is kind of funky. So I'll describe that a little bit after we get done here. But as we can see, as you're going down through here, if you can see that. So as you're going through here, see, I can't see my mouse cursor. So as we're going through, everything that's listed in black is not installed into the Raspberry. Anything that is listed as green is. So as you can see, I've got Gparted and I've got Sync Thing. So there we go. And to close it out, you just click on the X button in the upper right corner, and there it is, and done. All right, so that's everything there. I just need a quick drink of my water. There we go. Okay, so that's essentially Pi apps. Now, I'm not going to go into any individual installs or anything like that because I really don't have a need. Not even for the video. Because if I put it in, I'd be taking it right back off. But there is a whole list of stuff there that's available that somebody could use for whatever, you know, their particular needs or wants, or just to tinker with it. Who knows? So I highly suggest checking it out. I've checked it out, and you know, I'm using Sync Thing actively, and using it every day. For stuff for Switch to Linux, I'm using it every single day because of video announcements and stuff like that. Like I said, all of my announcements, graphics are out there on it, and I reach out, I grab it, you know, and of course I have a copy of it all on Celeria, and Sync Thing just syncs those files with Celeria, between Celeria and CJ itself, so that there's a main copy, a source copy on CJ, and I've just got an operational copy here on Celeria, and then I do the work on Celeria, and then Sync Thing grabs those files and sends them over to be stored on CJ. And as far as the video side of it goes, like this video file, when it's all rendered and saved and everything like that, I use Sync Thing between CJ and Odin. When it gets done, I'm going to put it into a stage directory, and it's going to sync that stage directory over onto CJ into another, you know, into the same thing. So we've got two separate syncs going on here. So we got, let's say, one here and one here. So basically, it's two separate syncs, but it's all one operation umbrella of sorts. It's an operational umbrella with a couple of different syncs underneath it, and they're all you know, one goes towards one machine and the other goes towards the other machine. So there's no linking of the two machines together, although I could if I really wanted to, but I don't want that. I want CJ to be the source of everything. So I'll reach out to it from Celeria when I need, and I'll reach out to it from Odin when I need to it. And there we go. So that's, just describing SyncThing. Now, I use SyncThing from PiApps because that's the absolute easiest way to do it. Yes, it's available on RunTP. It's also available on, through Portainer, through, was it Lizzie? Her app templates and stuff like that. But that complicates it just outside of my comfort zone. So I went and I grabbed it out of PiApps, and that ran. The setup was easy, and the connection is good, and involves like zero effort on my part, like nearly absolute zero effort on my part, outside of go to a machine, launch it, connect it, done. Thank you. That's what I need. That's what I want. And there we go. So, and then anything else that's available out on PiApps, go out, play with it, see what you like, look up, just see how it's described on what it does, whatever it might be, and see if you could use it. So there you go. So that's this video. Thanks. We will talk to you later. Have a good one. Skál. Talk to you later, guys.